There's a human male standing in the alleyway in front of you, having appeared where there was no one standing a moment before, with a blaster pistol in his hand. And he's not wearing fishing garb or sort of casual homesteader. He seems to be wearing maybe it's overalls. They appear to be a bit grease stained or stained with some kind of dark oil or other substance. He's got like a tool belt on his belt and worker's boots on, and he's got a blaster pistol in his hand. And he gestured May to step forward as she spoke and indicated that she just wanted to talk, but she's wearing this heavy scarf that obscures her features and disguises her face. And he gestures for her to pull that scarf down. And if she does, and he sees an Itochi woman, and he says, I told you I wasn't leaving. I don't know why you came back. Yuna, you shouldn't have come back.
At that moment, I think hand still up because there is still a gun present. Dover just steps forward very quickly, very close, and is like, "You know my mom?"
And the blaster pistol doesn't go away, but it lowers. He's not pointing it directly at you. It's at his hand. He's got it at the ready, but he's not pointing it at you.
Do you know where she is? Is she okay?
Your mother?
Yeah, I'm not her. It's my mom.
What? She's not here. She hasn't been here for a long time. Why did you come here? Who are you people?
Well, who are you? You have a gun, so, and we're children, kind of.
He's got the blaster in his hand. He kind of looks at it for a moment. Again, lowers it down, doesn't remove it entirely, but just keeps it at the ready at the side. Did she send you here?
No, I haven't seen her since I was a kid. She left to go help others, like us, I assume,
And
or like you.
he looks at you for a second as you say that, and he looks around for a moment. There's nobody in the alley. He takes just a step forward. The blaster goes down a little bit lower, so it's just down by his leg now. People like us, how?
I mean, you felt the weirdness, the like the crackling feeling, like the
He puts
like
up a
the
little hand
whole.
and he just kind of like gestures your hands down and he says, look, I don't know what you think you're doing. And then there's the sound of booted feet up at the street level from the alley that you ran down this way before you turned the corner.
Clearing Sector 2. Moving to Sector 3.
And you can hear the sound of two snowtroopers on patrol walking past the alley. He immediately steps into your midst. So he's right beside you all now because he gets out of sight at the alley. He turns his back to you because he's looking down the alley to see if they're coming this way. If anybody wants to use this moment when he's not paying attention to you to do anything differently, you can. But he's looking down the alley.
What's your name? Who are you? How do you know my mom? I'll be quieter if you just kind of cooperate a little.
He frowns, like he looks over his shoulder as the snowtroopers continue their patrol, and he frowns at you over his shoulder. He takes the blaster pistol, he holsters it back into the holster on his leg. This is a conversation better had indoors. We should be somewhere
Yeah,
less visible.
it's also flippin' freezing. I hate it here.
Yes, it is. That's life in Somber. That's life on this planet. And he takes a step down the alleyway for a moment, back towards the street, and he looks over his shoulder again, and he says, you can call me Rix. Welcome to
Okay.
welcome to Fest. And we welcome everyone watching to Quadrilateral Frostfall, a Star Wars actual play. think for a moment about how we got here. It is 8 years before the Battle of Yavin. And after crash landing your salvaged Republic dropship in the mountainous terrain of an outer rim world called Fest, you found yourselves on the outskirts of a fishing and aquaculture settlement called Somber, located on the aptly named Bay of Somber. The coordinates that brought you to this planet included a landing beacon which you located, but you fell, quite literally, short of landing at. Perhaps there was some luck mixed in with your misfortune, as that allowed you to sneak into town under the cover of night and a snowstorm, dragging the unconscious and seriously injured form of Sledge, a gruff salvager from the homeworld of Salachet, who ended up along for the ride with you. Using stealth meant that you discovered the presence and patrols of Imperial snowtroopers before they discovered you. Doing so, you secured two important pieces of information. The first was the location of a local infirmary where you could get Sledge and the rest of you badly needed medical help. And the second piece of information, courtesy of slicing the local network by BB-8, was news of an industrial mining accident on Salachet and a list of individuals from your old settlement of homesteads that were either reported as missing or wanted for questioning. And you discovered that some of you are wanted for crimes against the Empire. You secured medical aid, new clothes, and a warm meal courtesy of the local cantina. Once you were inside there, BB-8, your friend and mischievous maintenance beautification droid, discovered an out-of-service 3PO protocol droid mounted to a pedestal from the torso up, presumably to provide on-demand translation services in exchange for a fee. But at the same time as BB-8 discovered the droid, the rest of you discovered that the local watering hole wasn't just a favorite of the locals, but the Imperials have their own reserved table on standby. Following the advice of the old gardener Anti-Vim from your home settlement that you fled from, Vilraza, Iktochi pilot and recipient of visions, reached out with her feelings, and someone reached back. A local who was sitting at the bar reacted to Vilra testing her newfound powers of perception and fled quickly with Vilra in pursuit. And that leads us to where we are now. Walking through the streets of Somber, crossing the main road, as this man, Rix, wearing grease-covered work overalls, a tool belt, but still carrying a blaster pistol on his hip, takes you across the main street, where he pauses, looking to see if there's any immediate patrols. To the north side, draped in shadow and darkness, the old communications building and the old communications array, large dish pointed up to the sky with a massive missing panel out of its array. And then, of course, to the south, all the way to the end, as the main road of Somber curves around the shore of the bay, the lights of the landing pad. Distant silhouetted figures of Imperial snowtroopers standing on guard. And a little bit more activity, the direction of the cantina, the direction of the infirmary. He takes you through some side streets, even down another little back alley, almost back to the edge of Somber again. Still in the midst of some homesteads and small shops and bays, but one of the last buildings before it just gives way to darkness, the tundra, the blowing snow, the darkness of the mountains in the back. Somewhere out there is a crashed Republic dropship. And he takes you to a homestead. Keys open the door, gestures everybody inside. He's watching the sort of the small laneway where the access to this homestead is.
Yeah, I guess we would go in. I mean, at that point, Vilra had covered back up because they were moving, and kind of just looks at the group like, I mean, right? I have questions, but also,
I mean, we came this far.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, scuttles inside.
You all go inside. He goes in last, making sure that the laneway is clear, nobody's asking any weird questions or making any comments. He steps inside and closes the door. It's by no means spacious. It's not well appointed. It's functional. It's warm. There might be a sleeping area in the back somewhere. Small workbench here. Small kitchen. Simple living arrangements. Chairs, tables, some tools. Enough that everybody can find somewhere to perch if you want to sit down, or you can stay standing if you choose. He goes over, unbuckles a tool belt, drops it on a small workbench, unbuckles the blaster, and drops it next to the tool belt on the workbench. And he starts stripping out of his overalls, which you can see are pretty oily and greasy. Kicks off his boots, pulls off the overall so he's not wearing it. He's just got simple undergarments underneath. Hangs up the overalls.
Can I tell based on like the tool bench and the tools there what he's working on?
It's the kind of tool bench that most homesteaders who are somewhat mechanically capable would have in their home, right? So for allowing him to do small repair, small electronics and appliance repair and things like that, nothing unique or exotic, just a home tool bench.
Okay.
Your eyes are drawn to that because Vilber is instinctively curious about that. He's got a couple of different projects, a couple of different devices that he's got in various stages of repair on the go. But they're all everyday common items. Nothing too unusual.
Is there anything that like would be like something out of the ordinary, like something that says where he's from, any cultural things, pictures, anything on the walls?
All of you can roll perception as you're taking in the room for the first time. And we'll see if you pick up on anything else. Remember, one of your dice will be your wild die, which can explode on a 6 and can add a complication on a 1.
I got a 10.
Got a 13.
14.
8.
No, nothing culturally. Almost nothing personal. Very utility. Very just go to work, come home, make a meal, do some work. He's got messy hair from obviously being at work with the coveralls and such. He's got a scruffy beard covering his face, so it's got a little bit of gray in it. It's a little bit dirty. His hands, absolutely, he had some work gloves with him, of course, but his hands are still stained, greasy workers' hands.
How long have you been here?
He goes to the refresher and pulls out something cold to drink. He opens the door, gesturing inside. There are some drinks and some small food items inside, sort of gestures, and then closes the door, leaving it clear that the invitation is open for anybody to help themselves. He goes by the workbench. He sits down on his stool there, opens the cold drink, takes a long drag at it, puts it down. All right. How about I share, and then you share?
That seems fair, right? Right now.
I've been here 10 years. Yeah, 10 years almost. How long have you been here?
Time is it?
Yeah, couple hours.
About 10 hours.
He
What
waits.
brought you here? Yeah, what brought you here?
A commercial shuttlecraft. What brought you here?
I did. Listen,
So
if we're
you-
gonna be vague, I'm gonna be vague too. How do you know my mom?
She came to the settlement looking for someone. How did you know your mom was here?
Um, Coordinates that were and feelings,
Mostly the coordinates.
most of the coordinates. I'm gonna be real, it was like 90% coordinates, yeah. Um,
What are you?
yeah.
I'm a foreman on a rig.
You're a lot more than that.
Yeah. And why do you have a blaster pistol? And why was seeing me so jarring? Why are you not leaving? I'm just kind of getting all the questions out there. Feel free to ask multiple back if you want a fair exchange or whatever.
Blaster pistols because there can be drunks, there can be ice wolves, there can be problems in the water. Pistols are restricted but permitted. Anything heavier is not. So if you're carrying anything heavier, don't flash it around town.
Not an issue.
And I left because the cantina was getting crowded. The air had changed. But also because people were attracting a lot of attention to themselves.
Not our fault. We didn't know the rules or whatever.
Also, there's rules.
Well, apparently that seat belongs to that ass. So,
Yeah, it does.
ugh, gross.
What exactly was it that
both-
you were what was it that you were doing in there? Or were you looking for someone too?
We were eating dinner and I was just really nervous. I was just trying to keep my senses up, guarded. Wanted to be ready. So I guess I tried to weaponize my anxious energy in a way I don't understand. Also, we were really hungry.
You know my name.
Hi, my name is Vilra.
Hila.
I'm 2P1NG, but you can call me 2 Pint.
Don't look at me. You already got 3 for 1.
Can we put all our cards on the table here?
Yeah.
We came looking for something. These coordinates were saying that there are something out there, and the first thing that reacts is you. I don't think that's a mistake. I think you're who we're supposed to be looking for, but the piece that I can't put together is, who are you? You're somebody. You keep saying you're not anybody, and everybody's somebody, and you're somebody, and there's something about you. What are you hiding from?
And why was my mom trying to get you to go somewhere? Because you said you weren't leaving.
Do you have any idea why your mother was coming here? Do you have any idea how long ago it was that your mother came here?
About 10 years ago, because that's when she disappeared. And I have some idea that she was helping certain people, kids.
It was 8 years ago. And it's not just kids. But that's a dangerous topic to be telling strangers about. You don't know
Dangerous times.
where they come from and who they're loyal to.
Right. Well, if you can't trust anyone, I mean, you're never going to get anywhere.
And you ran from Imperial, so I'd say that puts us on the same side.
I think he ran from me.
So you called it your anxiety.
Yeah. It's scary, man.
So what else does your anxiety tell you to do?
Usually panic or throw up or like be ready and aware. Like hypervigilance, but organized. Does that make sense?
And so who told you, who taught you how to weaponize your anxiety?
No one. I kind of just figured it out. I think.
Was there any other kids around you growing up? Are the rest of you, do you all have anxiety as well?
I mean, yeah. But I think it's different for Bilra. I don't know. Like, I'm always worried. One of us
She
has
knows
to
things
be.
sometimes.
Yeah.
No things how.
I guess it's like sometimes you just get like a really strong gut feeling. You know it's true, but you can't say how you know it's true.
She found a secret hideout that had been hidden in plain sight for our entire life, kind of out of nowhere. That was pretty big.
A secret hideout.
Yeah.
I dissemble. And I pull out my camera, go through the roll, and show the picture.
He looks at it if you would give it to him or just show it to him in your hands, and he's looking at Eugila for a second, looks over at Vilra, looks over at Tanal for a second, and then he goes back to the device and starts going through the pictures. He says, yeah, those places don't exist anymore, or they're hard to find if they still do. And so, did you grow up here? Did you spend time in this place with others?
I mean, near there. Yeah. That was our planet we came from. And yeah, I mean, these are my best friends in the whole wide galaxy. So we all grew up there.
So this was nearby,
Uh-huh.
and you grew up with anxiety, but no one ever taught you about your anxiety.
No. I mean, I'm also Itochi, so we sort of have a whole thing that we sometimes see stuff. And that's just something that we have. So I think a lot of it was chalked up to that. And also my mom wasn't around. So that sucked.
Why wasn't she around?
Why
weren't you
she disappeared?
why weren't you with her if she'd left?
I don't know. She was
He
just gone one day.
goes back to his drink and takes another drink off of it. Goes to the workbench, adjusts some tools, looks at one of the devices he's got on the go. Some kind of little compressor, some kind of small part probably from a air vent. She mentioned she had a family.
Yeah, me
She
and my
mentioned-
dad.
And she mentioned that she had to leave them behind, that it wasn't safe for them to be with her.
Yeah, I never knew why. She was just gone one day.
It wasn't exactly safe back at home.
No.
Not anymore.
She told us it wasn't safe to stay. Do you know why she told us that?
I don't know, because you have weird anxiety too. By weird, I mean like sometimes your anxiety makes sense, but you can't explain it. And it feels like weird skin crackles in a good way.
Eight years ago, I wasn't the only one here with anxiety. There was someone else with me. And when when your mother arrived, took her a bit of time, but she was able to find us. She said she had a dream about us.
Okay, that's weird, but
You said you're a Tokchi, that you see things sometimes.
yeah.
I think that she saw us. And she said that it wasn't safe and that someone was coming. And she wanted me and this other person to leave with her right away.
Okay, why didn't you listen? Who is this other person? Where did she want to go?
She told me she was following coordinates. And her feelings, but mostly coordinates. And it was complicated.
Okay. I'm gonna repeat myself, which I don't love doing. Who is this other person? Where did she want to go?
The other person was Munich. Munich's a
Munich.
grand. They have 3 eyes. Pretty perceptive. Munich had a lot of anxiety. Munich
Mhm.
had a lot of anxiety like yours, but he didn't let it get the better of him in the middle of a crowded cantina. He knew enough to know that.
Okay, you don't have to be rude.
Well, this
You
isn't.
can also
this,
tell that Vilra is very trying to like keep it cool and also not completely burst into tears. So she's trying her best, but is like seconds from losing her cool.
He says, "All right, let's try this differently." And he sets his drink down and puts his tools down. And he goes over and he kicks some a toolbox on the floor out of the way, makes a little space on the floor, and he sits down cross-legged, and he gestures to Vilra. He says, "Why don't you just sit down with me for a minute?"
Okay. And then she sits down, crisscross applesauce.
You have to be careful about letting your anxiety get the better of you. But you're right. Sometimes you just know, you just have a feeling that it's the right thing to do. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to sit with me. And he sits down with her and sits down cross-legged, and Vilra sits down cross-legged, and they're sitting in the middle of the room. The rest of you have the roam of the place. You can go wherever you want to go. There's not a whole lot of other spaces to go. There's a small kitchenette in the back. There seems to be a bedroom in the back, a small supply closet, tools, pegs with clothing and overalls and hooks and things. There's a ladder that looks like it goes up to a roof access along the wall. 2 Pint, it's your temperature readings. Obviously, you're not bothered by the cold, but you can take the temperature reading in here. You can see that it's quite warm in here. And you can hear a distinctive hum. And if you hover about just for a moment, looking around, you can see different control panels on the walls. You can see that this homestead and maybe this settlement seems to be heated with geothermal heating. So they're in the middle of this cold tundra on the edge of this cold, windy bay, but they're pulling warmth from deep into the ground and they're pulling it up into the homesteads. And so it seems to be old, but pretty efficient and seems to be working okay. Other than the blaster pistols and all, you don't really see any other obvious weapons. Lots of tools, lots of gear, lots of just stuff. Someone's lived here for a number of years. If you want to go digging around on something, you can while this is happening. Just let me know, or you can just quietly observe, or just keep an eye on the two of them instead if that's what your focus is. And Gila, no personal items, no holos, no pictures, no paintings, no art. Not a lot of personal effects, other than just things of utility, things that are useful for someone day to day. Not a lot of personality, but also not a lot of attachments.
I think Gila is kind of taken aback that like somebody could live like this. That is this what the rest of the galaxy is? Is just people cold and scared with no pictures, no stories, no nothing to sort of like cling to. Just takes a picture of it all.
He sits with Vilra and he closes his eyes. He tells you to close your eyes. He says, I want you to think about your mom. What you remember of her. The last time you saw her. If that's calming for you, make that your anchor. And if it's not calming and you say these are your best friends in the galaxy, and if they're your anchor, then think about them. Or one of them. Think about home. What does home look like? What does it sound like? What does it smell like? The wind. The wind over the fields. And the breaking water on the cliffs. And the sounds of a garage. The feel of the tool in your hand. The sounds of the droids hanging in their racks. And the laugh of a Wookiee.
How do you know?
He opens his eyes and looks at Vilra for a second.
How do you
Let's
know
try
that?
Just close your eyes. He closes his
Fine.
eyes.
Yeah. She closes her eyes.
Ships in the sky. Fire. Heat. Moving fast.
Yeah. I don't like this part.
An old bay. An old ship. But together with old friends.
Yeah, that's how we got here.
The smell of a garden. The sound of a fountain. Water rushing. And secrets. Secrets under the ground.
Yeah, I just kind of knew. It saved us.
Disagreements, disputes, debates, destruction.
I don't like this anymore. I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to do this.
If you can't control your anxiety, how are you going to control your feelings?
I don't know. Practice not worrying about it. You know, it's a pretty open wound. Everything that just happened that you saw very clearly, apparently.
I didn't see it. You did. You just shared it with me.
I didn't. Whatever. It still hurts. Everything that happened was really bad and hard, and people died.
And that pain, that's going to drive your anxiety. It's going to control your anxiety. It's going to control you. It's going to force you to make decisions that you shouldn't, but you'll want the pain to go away, and you'll do anything you can to stop it.
No.
Munich had the same problem. And when I was your age, I sometimes had that same problem too.
Okay, so I get to turn into a lonely guy on a frozen planet with, like, not even a single plant on the windowsill. So those are my options. Let feelings control me. Or boring ice planet. And once again, you still haven't told me where my mom went.
I don't know where your mom went. She didn't tell me. She said I'd know if I came with her, but I couldn't go. I had to stay.
Why? What's so great about it here? It is so cold, it's not even funny. You have family here? I wouldn't know because there's, like, no pictures. Because my family, I don't know where they are. This is my family.
You said it wasn't safe back home. Why
Yeah.
wasn't it safe?
Freaking stormtroopers and Empire, and then they blew up the planet.
And there was no one there to help, right? No one that could stop them.
No. Well, we tried.
We
It
did.
didn't- Yeah.
Yeah, you did. And there's a fine line between helping and putting yourself in harm's way. And that fear, it can control you. It can dominate your mind. But that love you feel for your friends is there as well and can counteract that. But for someone with anxiety, and he gestures between himself and Vilra, it's a lot stronger. The good feelings are stronger, and so are the bad ones. But it's not just the fear. There's so much anger.
Yeah, there's a lot to be angry about.
But I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about her. And he gestures to Tanal.
Tanal has been standing, like, leaned up against the wall in a spot where she can both watch what's happening here and also watch the door.
And he looks at Tanal, and he doesn't have a look of judgment on his face, but he is looking at her.
Well, like she said, there's a lot to be angry about.
And so you want to do something about that, right?
Yeah, what tipped you off?
When you reached out in the cantina, you could not just see everybody in the cantina, not just hear everybody, you could feel them, couldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, that's like everyone can do that, though.
I don't know. Are Most of us can't.
What do you mean? No. I thought that was just like a thing people could do. That you could just sort of like really focus and kind of get the feeling of the people around.
No.
You could feel them, Vilra, but they can't feel you. They don't know. But someone with anxiety, he gestures between the two of you again.
Yeah, can we not call it anxiety anymore? Because I'm starting to get this really, deep instinctual feeling that that's not what that is.
It's like a bright light in a dark room. And those of us that can feel that, those of us that can feel each other, we see that right away. And so when you reached out, I didn't know who you were. I didn't know why you'd come. And I didn't want to put anybody else in the cantina in danger. And so I left.
Yeah, you left very obviously, I might add. Subtlety is not your thing until you disappeared in the alleyway. And then it was most definitely your thing. But like you beelined out of there like you had something to hide. Just saying.
That's because it's been about 8 years since I had somebody that I could feel in the room and that could feel me. And the last time that happened, it didn't go very well.
What happened?
That anger, and he looks at Tanal again, that desire to want to make it right, it's shared by a lot of people. But sometimes those people don't know any better. And they think that by acting out, they're going to help. And it could make things worse. And when Munich and I got here, we thought we could help. And what we didn't realize is that we were also making things worse. And when your mother came, he looks at Gila for a moment.
So is the solution just not to do anything?
It's to make a choice. How can you help the most amount of people and not cause anyone else to get hurt?
Someone's always gonna get hurt.
He nods. When your mother came and she told us that the Empire was coming, the Empire was already here. And so I didn't understand what she meant at first. But she said the Empire knew that we were here and that they were coming. And she wanted us to leave with her. She said she was helping those like us find somewhere safe to go. And that someone was helping her find us, leading her where to go. And no, I don't know where she went because she had another destination to go to. Destination that she got through coordinates, through a transmission. But I realized that what we were doing to try and dissuade the Empire from continuing on here, all we were doing was being a bright light in a dark room. And when we use our feelings, when we use our skills, things that not everyone else in the room can do, we're a bright flame, Vilra. And the Empire is the moth that'll be drawn to it. And you need to understand that. And you're surrounded by friendship and by love, but also by anger.
Yeah,
And that-
well, if I'm a flame and they're a moth, I dare them to get close enough so I can burn them. Sorry, the anger? Go on. my completely justifiable anger, my very real, very recent reasons for anger.
He says, I know. I can understand. I've lost people too.
Yeah, it sucks.
All I'm saying is that I had to make a choice. Did I damn Munich to staying and possibly dying in pursuit of trying to do the right thing? Or do I give Munich a chance to live? And do I change my path and help those here? Help them in a way that no one else can, without causing the Empire to lash out. And so I made that choice. And I made Munich get on that ship that brought your mother here. And I stayed. And she was right. She was able to get Munich off planet and somewhere safe, I hope. With others like us, I hope. And someone did come. And they came looking for us. And someone who could see that flame and knew right where it was.
What happened to them?
I killed them.
Okay. Probably deserved. No, definitely deserved. Does it bug you that you killed them? I mean, because you had no problem pointing a gun at a bunch of teens.
He looks at Tanal. You call teen. I call mercenary. You call
Mercenary.
teen, and he points to two point. I call assassin droid.
Artist?
That's an artist. Two-Point does
yeah,
some
and
of the finest work you've never seen.
And I've never shot anybody for money.
It's true.
I've known for a long time that it could only be a matter of time before someone comes again. And so, being who I was only ensured that the flame would burn bright. And he gets up off the floor, goes over to the workbench, rummages through a whole bunch of things, and then sees some pouches on the wall and starts digging through the pouches. And he digs into one at the back, pulls out something small, tosses it. He tosses it to Tanal, and you catch it, and it's a small puck. You can activate it. It's a little holographic puck. So I couldn't be me anymore. I had to become Rix, a worker, a friend, somebody who could look after people, protect them from the Empire's worst excesses, but also not cause such a disturbance that the Empire would send Moors. And Tanal, if you activate it, it pops up, and there's a little holographic display of a man's face. A man wearing a brown tunic and a cream-colored robe, or a brown robe and a cream-colored tunic underneath, with a clean-shaven face and shorter hair. And it's a Imperial wanted alert for a human named Dale Ellican.
Does that name ring any bells?
No, but it sure looks a lot like the man standing in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but
No, but the name itself doesn't. It's not a name that you've heard before.
So you don't get to love anyone or like anyone really or trust anyone? You just kind of live on high alert all the time so that you can help people, which I get, but what kind of life is that? You have no best friends. You have no family. What reason to go on beyond helping a tiny town, tiny in comparison to the grand scheme of the galaxy? And then the minute someone reaches out, kind of, you're very threatening.
So these people aren't deserving of my help?
I'm not saying that, but you're also deserving of a life that you like. And making connections and caring about people more deeply than surface level. Just, I mean, obviously care about people because it's the kind thing to do and the right thing to do. That's not hard. But shouldn't you be able to like fall in love? Kiss people?
It's in all like taking a really like hard look at not just the face on this hologram, but the the clothing, the general like vibe. Kind of looks back at this guy. No, they don't do attachment, do they?
And how do you know that?
You know, just dinner table talk.
Some interesting dinner companions. He'll go over, retrieve the puck from you. He'll go up to the shelf, and up on the top shelf in some hidden pouch at the back, he'll tuck it away up there so that it's tucked out of sight.
Yeah, my dad didn't talk much about his general, but you know, you hear a couple things.
His general. Your father served in the Clone Wars?
Yep.
Was he filled with feelings? Like Vilro?
No. No, not really. It was never a very popular family trait for him and his brothers.
He thinks about that for a second. Well, we were taught to suppress our feelings, to acknowledge them, to know that they're there, to use them, but to not get attached to them, and to not get attached to the people that generate those feelings. Because
How can you use a weapon if you won't hold it in your hand, though?
the problem is that there's someone with an even bigger weapon that comes along after. Someone comes seeking me, knowing who I am, and I kill them. Who do they send next time? What do they send next time? Do they send another assassin? Or do they just bomb the entire bay and reduce it to rubble? Because they can do that too.
So is your life just waiting for your death to come?
Death is just one part of the journey, isn't it?
Also, you
But
said
you
you don't
act-
have like attachments, yet you held on to a picture of yourself. That's sentimental, my guy.
It's also a good cover story when you're sharing drinks with the local crew about what you would do with the credits off of a bounty if you were the one lucky enough to find the person.
Whatever you need to tell yourself. That's sentimental. But
It's
go
also
on.
it's also historical. It's also a reminder of the past and how to avoid a shorter future.
living in fear. Isn't that what the Empire wants? Haven't you already lost in that capacity? Shouldn't you want to go out and do more? If you are this light, a light reaches everyone.
That's almost like the philosophy classes we once took. And it's true.
Who is we? Some of us didn't have certain dinner conversations.
There was a time before the Empire when we would gather and learn and study and train to understand what we were feeling inside us. You can call it anxiety. You can call it power. You can chase it and covet it, and some do. And you can call it a light, which it often is. But what it is the living force. And it's living because it's inside you. And it's inside all of us. And for you and I, we can see that and feel that force around us all the time. And it takes very little effort to reach out and touch it. But for others, they're blind and deaf to it.
Can I get rid of it? It's not necessarily something I wanted. And I don't know how to, like, deal with it. And can you, like, take it out? Like, is it a part I can replace?
Your mother never had this conversation with you.
No, clearly. I don't know how to make this more clear. Yeah, no. She just disappeared one day, and I never knew why. Until like a month ago. Not even.
You said you and your father. Did your
Yeah.
father know? Did he ever talk to you about this?
No.
I talked about how feelings can lead to attachment, and attachment can lead to difficult decisions. And for some parents, when their children are discovered to have this living force inside them, they're asked to make a choice. To let them be trained, to let them know how to harness that light, to strengthen it, but to protect it, or to stay and to remain as they are. And for some parents, they can't make that choice, or they won't make that choice. Yuna didn't tell me why she left you behind. She just said that you were out there still, you and your father, but that she was asked, that she was the one who could do this thing, find these people, and warn them of the danger that was coming their way. And that she was given coordinates that were sent to her, and she would jump from system to system in a race against the Empire. And she was right, because the Empire was hunting us. Every last one of us. And the Empire still hunts us.
Yeah, there might be like a whole thing out there with my name and picture. I'm wanted or something for crimes that I think are justified. So
It was pretty satisfying to watch.
it was terrifying in the moment, but very cool when I think about it. It's still kind of scary after the moment.
I know that you think you did the right thing, and it very well could have been.
In the moment, it was.
But it
Was-
also set you on a path that you weren't prepared for.
Yeah. Well,
And I
I'm
go to work
trying.
every day, and I protect the people around me from the Empire at the same time as having to serve under the Empire's yoke. And I know that. But right now I can save more lives doing this than I can doing that. And he gestures to all of you. That's my choice.
Well, okay. It sucks. You have to admit it sucks a little.
Regrets aren't something that I spend a lot of time thinking about.
Oh my God. Okay.
It doesn't mean that I don't feel them, Vilra. It just means that I understand that there's more important things than just my feelings. More important things for me right now than my own feelings. You're going to have to come to terms with that on your own, at your own pace, at your own time when you're ready.
Okay.
There's a buzz at the door. And he pauses for a second, and he kind of like gestures Tanal away from the wall where she can kind of keep an eye on the door and keep an eye in the room and so forth. And so he kind of gestures you all further inside the homestead. And he, goes back and then sort of makes sure that you're out of the way, and then goes to the door. He slides it open. Tanal, you going to stay close enough that you can still see out the door? Or do you want to stay out of sight entirely?
100%. Absolutely. I don't trust this guy.
Okay. You sort of peek around. There's just a small little hall that leads to the doorway outside, and there's that blast of cold air that comes in right away as he opens the door. And you see a man in grease, oily covered overalls, staggering about, being held up and being flanked by 2 Imperial snowtroopers.
Found one of yours, Rex. Wandering the streets, a little too much celebration.
And Rix looks at him and says, "It's Ruffer. He likes to have a few too many after shift. I appreciate you bringing him by. Ruffer, we talked about this. You're gonna get docked. You're gonna get docked a day's pay if you can't function on the rig. Look, I'll get him. Look, I'll get him home, boys. Thank you for bringing him by. Sorry to take time out of your route. I'll make sure he knows not to let it happen again."
All right, Rex. Hey, listen. I got a projector that's acting up. Can you look at it?
Of course. Show me. And you can see the snowtrooper pulls out of his satchel a small holovid projector, and he hands it to Rix. And Rix looks at it. He says, "Oh yeah, you've had it on patrol too long. The lens is starting to get cracked. I can replace that for you, no problem. Just 1 second." And he takes the whole projector. And as he turns around, you can see he's smiling, got a very jovial look. And the moment he's out of sight, the smile's gone. He puts the projector on his workbench, goes and gets a heavy jacket, puts it on, looks at you all without saying a word, steps outside, motions them backwards. The door closes again. And you can hear their voices outside for a moment, and then they walk away. And now you're left alone in the homestead of Rix the foreman, and in the homestead of Dale Elkin, wanted Jedi. We're going to pause right there, and we're going to take our break. We're going to thank everybody for joining us so far, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back to Quadrilateral Frostfall, our Star Wars actual play. The door to Rix's homestead closes. The sounds of muffled voices, the electronic voices of Imperial snowtroopers, and his voice echoing out as they and Rix escort Ruffer, the workhorse gearhead, back to his homestead after a night of revelry, and he was picked up by the Imperial patrol. But you note the fact that the Imperials brought him to who they know the foreman to be, rather than just detaining him or incapacitating him or harming him. So that's curious. And you know that they used the opportunity to get something for themselves and brought a personal holovid player to Rix, the foreman, who they know is enough of a gearhead that he seems to be fixing small electronics for them on the side as a favor. They do him a favor and don't hurt his crew, and he does them a favor and fixes their stuff. It's curious. Their voices, their steps, quickly muffled away, lost in the wind and the snow outside. The last of the cold air that blasted in from the open door is gone. The geothermal heating that heats the homesteads seems to be doing its job. The room warms up again quite quickly. And for the first time, no dropship, no sledge, no cold, no stormtroopers, no blasters, other than the blaster that's still sitting on the workbench that he left behind. No one's demanding anything of you. No one's looking for you. And you're not wanting for food or shelter. And so for the first time in a long time, you have a moment alone together to reflect and to talk.
Right, so I'm not good at picking up on subtext when people talk to each other, so what just happened?
The Force? It's inside me?
We're hanging
And
out with the
inside-
Jedi.
Oh. What's it? Would Vilra know what a Jedi is?
Yes, from broadcast day, the
Oh, right.
of the Clone Wars, the Jedi weren't mentioned in broad strokes, but they would always be mentioned in relation to major battles, in relation to leading the generals of the clone army, leading them into battle against the separatists and the droid army.
Right.
But yes,
okay.
you know what a Jedi is, but it's just not something that was talked about outside of the Clone Wars.
Oh, one of the guys. Oh. I need something to drink, and then immediately walks over and grabs something that doesn't look alcohol. I'm assuming he wouldn't have alcohol, but grabs something, opens it, and is like,
He
and
has
like
both.
sits down.
He has
Okay.
both inside there, so you can have either.
Yeah, no alcohol. Drinks it, like kind of sits and is like, so I don't know what to do with this information. I'm angry and I'm scared and I don't know what to do with this information. And the fact that he seems so calm about it is somehow annoying.
He's just given up.
I don't know if that's it.
I mean, look at this place.
I
Like,
mean, he
there's
was a general, right?
A lot of them were, yeah.
like,
How can he resign himself to just this?
I
Well,
feel like there's bigger battles to fight, right?
you guys, I think thinking back, I think that Tanal just has a bit of a tough time like differentiating what are things that she knows about that period in history because of who she's grown up around versus like things that everybody knows about that period, and I think that discrepancy is kind of like showing itself a bit now. Well, you guys know what happened to all of them, right?
No.
Why there aren't any more? He's not walking around in public. They were hunted. Obviously not all of them, but most of them were executed at the end of the war.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, and I think at this point she kind of gets up and goes over to his tool bench and is like, I do better when I can touch something. And is kind of like fiddling with his tools and then looks at the thing the snow troopers gave him and then kind of fiddles with it and turns it on and wants to know what it is.
What are we doing here? Are we trying to gather these? It seems to be Jedi according to these coordinates. Are we trying to find Vilra's mom?
Yeah, I
What
mean,
is
now
our
that
heading?
we're stuck here for at least a little bit. We don't have a ship. And I feel like ship theft is going to be something they really come after you for.
And for a penny.
If we can find out when Rick's, got here for sure, I could maybe find a way to access like ship logs if it was recorded when ships were coming and going. If they see if that can give us some information about your mom. But again, they might not have put anything down, so.
I mean, if she was being so secret, I doubt she wrote anything down. I mean, we have Gila's mom's coordinates that she sent my mom via your graffiti.
Great.
Which, I mean, if you go to that many levels of secrecy, it's not something you really advertise.
If we had a way to get in touch with anybody from home.
Yeah, I look for like anything that looks like a communication device. I'm gonna start just looking through his shit because honestly, whatever. Clearly, he has no attachments to these things, so it's not like we're gonna find, whatever it is people hide. I don't want to think about that
Hey,
further.
he doesn't have attachments, so I guess this is all up for grabs? I don't know. I'm new to this criminal thing.
Okay, yeah, and starts looking for any type of communication device, anything that might be something that would reach further than this settlement.
In the shorthand, no, you find a comm link, which you can absolutely take and pocket if you wish. And you can find a wall terminal, similar to the one that Two Pint found when you first arrived at the settlement. That will be attached to the local network. It's not a long-range communication terminal, but you can access the same basic settlement information on the local network. And presumably, if you feel like slicing it, you could try and use it to piggyback to get into the Imperial network if you wish.
Maybe we should do that and then figure out if they found the drop ship or not.
Sounds like a plan.
I'm happy to try and do it, just maybe not here, because if they can tell what port it comes from, they'll know we're here.
Oh, yeah. And he is kind of a weirdo, but I don't want to, like, get him in trouble.
Great. But I can go and find one out in a boat and we'll see what's going on. I can do that.
Yeah, maybe not right this second, just because I don't want us separating.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think we need to know where we're going before we do anything else or try to figure out how to get there. And I think the only way... That comm tower is busted.
Yeah.
But if we wanted to send a message, not riding on the Imperial network.
But how could we do that and not draw attention to ourselves?
Exactly, that's the problem. I don't know how busted is busted.
Well, here's something. We're in this town, but there's the whole planet around us. If there are ships coming and going, maybe we can hop a ride to another town and I don't know, see if something is different there.
I mean, this guy protects people. I kind of feel better being near him because I don't think he'll
Mm.
sell us out
I
because
mean,
we'll sell him. Go ahead.
my mom was clearly able to make some sort of secret communication. Maybe there's some way, maybe imprinted in 2 Pint, we can take that and use that to maybe send out a signal saying we're looking for you, or uh, contact whatever, or I don't know, using that channel or frequency, possibly we can do something with that from this busted up communication task. It doesn't need to be persistent. We just need one call.
I trust y'all enough. I can give you access to my, I guess innards, for lack of a better term, once we have the equipment. Can take a look in there. Kind of knocks his head.
And we're here for a couple days.
Yeah, I mean, assuming he lets us stay here. Because I don't know where else we're gonna stay.
Well, he is the foreman, and we were told to go to the foreman to get those little contract cards, so
True, I bet he can get us some. I bet he can get us some. Oh God, are we gonna be stuck on an ice planet? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I cannot do that.
I really hope not. It's freezing here.
It's so cold. My people were not meant for cold of this level.
I don't feel temperature. So, sorry about
What can
that.
you?
No, it's fine. It's cold. Don't know how to describe that to you in a way that would help you understand. But we just gotta find like our people, you know?
I think the big question right now is which one? Even if we can't get a message out of here, who do we reach out to first?
Your
Who do we
sister?
think?
She's got like connections and stuff.
She's definitely got connections, but she also, any message that gets sent to her is probably going to be monitored by Imperials.
True. I figured maybe she'd have some, I don't know, cool way of explaining why she's getting weird messages. I don't know. She was always cool.
I'm glad you think so.
Maybe we nab a ship and then we do all this communication stuff on the transport.
Maybe.
That would be a little safer.
We'd have to figure out a way for them to not track the ship.
We could disable their communications. We could find a ship and remove its tracking beacon. The four of us saved hundreds of people. We can do that. I feel like we can do this.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, we did have some help.
And we have each other.
Yeah. Yeah, we're pretty unstoppable.
And now we have experience in how to save people, so we've done it before. Like Gila said, we can do it again. And we know what not to do, perhaps a little bit better.
Yeah. It's just hard because people are actively looking for me, and I feel really bad about that.
They're not looking for us. And points to like Tanal and 2 Point. You don't have to do everything by yourself. That's what's wrong with that old guy.
I mean, yeah, but what if I went away so that way if they try to find me, they can't find you guys?
We're not splitting the herd now, Vilra. We've come this far together.
Yeah, I just don't want to get you guys in trouble or hurt or something because I accidentally like hurt a guy. It wasn't accidental. I'm pretty sure I did that intentionally. I'm also pretty sure I don't know how I did it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll figure it out together.
Okay. Okay, together. What are we gonna do in the meantime? Besides, are we gonna work? Pretend to fit in while we figure it out?
Get a lay of the land. We need to know how to be able to get in and out of that landing spot, as
Yeah.
well as how their security works, how to disable it, and maybe get some supplies if we can.
There's that droid in the cantina that I really want to talk to. You know, they're attached to the wall. They might have seen something.
Yeah, I'm sorry I ruined that moment for you. I
It's
kind
okay.
of freaked
Bigger
out.
bigger fish to fry, you know.
Yeah. We can go back to the cantina. That's a normal thing for people here to
Right.
do.
Yeah.
Not much else to do.
No, this place sucks. Also, once again, so cold.
As you speak about cold, there's a blast of cold air as the door to the homestead opens again. Rix steps through, stomping off some snow on his boots. The door closes behind. He still has his heavy jacket on. He comes in, looks at you all, sees Vilra at his workbench. He doesn't seem concerned about that. If any of you that chose to have a drink had a drink, that's fine. And he looks at you all. It's small, but that's one way that I help. I make it so that little problems don't become big problems. And he kind of like shuffles off a bit more snow and such. You might think that that's tolerating their oppression. But I see it as pushing off their subjugation.
Well, it's nice that you did that.
It's nice has nothing to do with it. It's a necessity.
A thing can be two things.
The people here are struggling. The Empire has controlled the air. They're poisoning the water. People are getting sick. It's getting harder every year. But if I lash out now, yes, I could slow them down, but the Empire would only come back stronger. The stake that they have in this place is not something that they're just going to give up easily. You understand that, right?
Yeah, we lived through it. They're the reason our planet. They dug really deep and, despite the warnings, did nothing.
And it wasn't until people stepped up and decided to do something about it that anything got done at all.
And where are those people now?
Alive. Still with the capacity to hope, still with the capacity to do more.
Have you seen the rig? Do you know what we're up against?
I don't, but I'll learn.
Gila's really smart, so.
He goes to one of the little supply closets, opens up, and there's a bunch of different jackets of varying, hardiness against the weather. And so he takes one out and he tosses a jacket to Gila. All right, well, if you're that smart, let's see if you can figure out this riddle. And he gestures for everybody to grab a jacket, and he goes up to the ladder and he starts climbing up the rungs to the roof hatch.
Okay,
Gila,
follow him. Yeah.
Gila leaves that one and just like zips up real tight the one that Tanal gave them.
Yep. Climbs up onto the roof hatch. Cold air pours in, of course, through the opening. Bundle up as best you can. You get up to the top. It's less a deck than it is just roof access for the homestead. There's a little bit of equipment up top, the circulation system for the air. You can hear a bit more of the hum of the geothermal plant as it's heating that. But you're up on a second story, almost second and a half story, which gives you a clear view above the surrounding homesteads for the most part. Most of them are single-story structures. There is a tint to the sky as dawn is coming. It's adding an orange glow that just softens the gray and just starts to illuminate things. And Tanal, you see to the north, now much closer, much closer, much more clearly, the array, the communications array that looms up above the small 2-story structure. Everything's dark. You can see security fencing that they've got at the end of the lanes and end of the streets, blocking it off. And Rix sees you looking at it. He goes, "That was the communication station for the settlement for Somber, and after the Empire arrived, for the Imperials as well."
What happened to it? She's got her macro binoculars out already.
He sort of looks at you for a second, and then he kind of looks over his shoulder, looking at Vilra, but he's talking to Tanal still, and he says, "Yunaza happened to it. She came on a freighter. The pilot was, she said, someone that used to know her brother and was there to help. And after a lot of disagreement about appropriateness and choices, and it's a heavy word, but destinies, we agreed that Munich would leave with her, but that I was going to stay. She wasn't happy about that. But the time it took us to make that decision meant that the Empire had time to start to track Munich and I down. We'd done a little bit of sabotage, a little bit of interference, a little bit of persuasion, trying to slow down the Imperial machine. And maybe we were a little too successful at it, because the Empire came looking for the problem. And so Munich on that ship with Yuna and their pilot had to leave quickly. And the Empire took exception to that and didn't want them to leave. And the pilot took exception to their exception. And they shot down the Imperial TIE fighter that was pursuing them as they shot skyward for orbit. And the TIE fighter crashed and burned, hit the array, plunged right through it, and the wreckage of the fighter still inside that dark mess. That's the array that she used to get coordinates for her next destination.
That information could still be logged.
Gives a little shrug.
If it is, I could find it.
Yeah, you could.
Probably.
But how do we get in?
It's fenced off. They don't worry about anybody getting in because
Useless.
not much people can do in there, and the penalty for doing so. Occasionally they'll send a probe droid on patrol out in the tundra, patrolling the fringe of South Somber, and occasionally they'll dip in and do a scan of the wreckage to make sure that there's no one salvaging in there. It was a problem the first couple of years, and after they arrested those they caught, people learned the lesson and stayed away.
You don't happen to know when the last time they sent a patrol or droids out there was? There's any kind of pattern to when they send it out?
No, I stopped worrying about the patrols when I realized I wasn't going to be fighting against them, and instead just living alongside them.
Right.
But
Point, there has to be a log.
and Vilroy, you're not paying as much attention to the array, the communications array, as everyone's looking and talking about this, because your eyes instinctively have been drawn south to the landing pad, to the lights, the security tower, the permacrete open air pad. There's no ship on it right now. And then you can see the homesteads to the south. And then you can see the 2 ringed landing bays. They're dark, they're dormant. There doesn't appear to be any activity around them. But it's not the bay that caught your eye, it's what's inside it. Because as that orange tint is brightening the sky, as the clouds are breaking up a little bit, as the fog in the bay seems to be receding, it's casting some light shadows across the thing, and it's illuminating the tops of the bay, illuminating the tops of the towers, and it's illuminating the top of the hull of a starship sitting inside that bay. You can see hull plating. You can see a laser cannon on the top of the hull. You can see scaffolding that's been structured up on top of the ship, partially. There's some containers and things that appear to be loose on top of the ship. It's quiet and still, but that glint of starship-grade metal in the morning light catches your eye.
Does it look out of commission?
It doesn't look like doesn't look like anybody's flying off with it with all that scaffolding around it, that's for sure. And and at night there was no lights, there was no power to the bay. So if the ship was connected to the bay for power, it would have to the bay would have to have power itself. There was no power to the bay that you could see.
Okay, good to know.
And Geely, you see the fog is receding. And as it does, and as Rix steps up across the roof and looks out to the bay, you start to see a structure emerge in the fog. A platform in the middle of the bay. You can see there's a few vessels. It's already morning. There's already some vessels going out. Rix is standing there. Lots of fishing. Lots of trapping. Lots of shellfish. But the operation now has been polluting the water so long that it's getting harder and harder to find healthy species. They either have to go farther out into the open water, which is dangerous of itself, or they can only rely on the deep trapping where the pollution hasn't reached the bottom of the bay. And so not all of the species are viable anymore for food, for the economy. And he gestures as this platform comes into view. Republic Science Station. They were here a long time. Research, science experiments, studying the environment for Fest, studying the waters of the Bay of Sombre, working with the locals, helping develop and strengthening the aquaculture, and doing some exploratory digging and drilling. And in addition to all the other species they found and all of the life forms and all of the minerals, they found something else too. And they found hydrocarbons. They found oil. They weren't drilling it. They just logged it with all their other discoveries. And he looks at Vilver for a second. And like a flame, the moth came. And when the Empire seized the galaxy. And as he looks back, you can see the fog is continuing to recede, and you see a much larger shadow behind the Republic Science platform, a much larger shadow completely obscured by the fog, and you couldn't see it overnight when you came down, and now it's starting to peel back as the first rays of the sun pierce the sky and start to come down, bathing Sombre in a bit of a warm glow, and it starts to burn up the fog. 2 times bigger, 3 times bigger than the Republic Science platform. A massive Imperial hydrocarbon rig emerges into view as the fog burns off, towering above the smaller platform, making it look tiny. You can see a landing platform, open air, over the water, big enough for a single shuttlecraft to come on. You can see docking arms on the opposite side, small silhouetted little H-shaped TIE fighters dangling over the open water with their docking arms. And then as it peels back, at the top, a massive communications array pointed to the sky. You can see a watercraft filled with people departing one of the docks, heading out in the direction of the rig. The hydrocarbons were just waiting, and the Empire came for them. The fleet gets bigger every year. It requires a lot of resources. And they're not too worried about the condition of the bay as they extract it. And as the fishing and the aquaculture jobs dried up, the rig jobs grew bigger. And more people needed work. Munich and I tried to slow down the construction. But after Una came, after they left quickly, and after the community array was destroyed as part of their escape, the Empire did what the Empire does and came back and built the next one twice as big, twice as far. And so they added the communications array, the new one, the Imperial controlled one, to the rig. And so all transmissions go through them. Most of the jobs go through them. And once a month, the capital ship arrives to take shipment of the hydrocarbons and take them off-world for processing. And so I stay, and I work, and I become one of them, and I become trusted with responsibility and with respect. And I'm not stopping them from polluting the bay, and I can't stop them from what they do in the galaxy. But here, for Somber, for the people that are here, we were called guardians of peace and justice. We didn't do so good on the peace part. And it's still to be decided if there's any justice left in the galaxy. But where you come from, and if there was no one there to help your people, if you were the ones that had to step up and help your people, that was very brave, but it was one small gesture. And the consequences for you, I'm assuming, means you can't go home. And right now, Somber, the people of Somber still have a home for as long as I'm able to help them. And so, yeah, I had to make a choice. And you could say that I gave up, and you could say that I'm hiding. And maybe those things are true. But I saved Munich from that fate. And I've saved the citizens here from something worse as well. And I'll help you as best I can. But I have to give you the same answer that I gave Una. This is what I need to do. Because if I do more, the help that I give could be returned with harm. And that's going to be a decision at some point you're going to have to make as well.
I'm gonna bleed this place dry.
No one here is living. It's just a bunch of people surviving. Is that really all you can offer them? Is it really all that's left under the oppressive thumb of the Empire?
And what would you offer them instead?
Hope. Something more than this. We lost our home, but our people are still surviving. They are still fighting.
And who decides, Gila, how many of them you're going to sacrifice for that hope?
Every person there made a choice to get on that boat. They asked what it always comes down to. Mr. Ricks. It's a choice. You've made yours. And you've also apparently made it for these people.
He just listens to your words. He doesn't have any resentment or judgment in his face. And then he looks to Tanal. You think we should fight?
I don't know. You've been here longer than we have. Like to imagine that that means that you know what you're talking about.
I'm not claiming that I haven't made mistakes, because I have. You just try and make as many good choices to go along with the bad ones, to try and find a balance.
What have you learned from those mistakes?
Maybe I'm still learning. Maybe I don't have all the answers. Eunice said she had a vision of me, but I didn't have a vision of her, and I didn't have a vision of you all. But it may not be a coincidence that you're standing here right where she was standing before, presenting me with a choice that I thought I had already made.
You can change your mind. It's the great thing about choices. And I don't have any force stuff in me that led me here, but I'm here now, and you're here now, and we're here now, and what you do right now matters.
He
You
thinks
cannot
about
let
that.
other forces make your choices for you.
He just nods and then looks back to the skyline as the sun starts to fully rise, burning off the last of the fog, revealing the monstrous oil rig in the middle of the bay. Watercraft carrying the workers out for their shift, another watercraft coming back, bringing back the night shift. You can see the streets, much more activity now this morning. The citizens out about their day, just like they would have in West Craig, just like they would have back on Salachet. You can see children, you can see droids, you can see people living their lives as best they can. He says, well, I should give you a tour so you can meet the people whose lives you're making these decisions about. And then we'll go from there.
Who better to show me than someone who's already done it?
He steps off the roof and leads you back to the ladder. We're going to pause with the crew there, because we're going to transition to a different place. A blue-green world with an orbiting sun. A beautiful world, a lush world, a populous world, an agricultural world. The world of Salachet. And in orbit around that world, small silvery starships departing and arriving. And then above it all, watching, vigilant, a triangular, oppressive shape of a warship. of an Imperial capital ship, of an Imperial Star Destroyer that sits in orbit over a once peaceful agricultural world. An Imperial officer in the drab olive uniform walks down the halls, passing technicians, other officers, passing Imperial stormtroopers. They enter a room, operations, consoles. Technicians at work, officers at their stations. This isn't a bridge. This isn't even a major operations hub. This is just a secondary control station on a massive ship designed for one purpose. Has a data pad in hand, goes around, starts talking to some of the technicians, giving some orders, getting some updates, moves from station to station, coming around the room. And then pauses, looking to the individual in front of them. Lieutenant, what orders are you under now? I'm going to pause there for a second for a little technical update. I know sometimes it may not go as smoothly as hoped. There we go. Perfect. You're muted, my friend.
I don't know. What orders am I under? Following my orders as given, sir.
I've got new reports coming in, Lieutenant. Are you part of the investigation detail on the surface?
I am. That investigation has been proceeding according to schedule. Many of the records were destroyed in the unfortunate industrial accident, but we are making progress.
Not according to this. Look, I've got a missing civilian grain freighter. We're taking inventory of all of the independent contractors, and there's a missing grain freighter that nobody has looked after. Nobody's looked into it, and we are getting demands for answers on all of these unaccounted for assets. So whatever previous assignment you're on, I need you to instead pursue this instead and report back to me right away with the location of the freighter or the identity of the civilians who were accountable for it on its last berth.
Of course, sir. I'll take care of it.
What's your name, Lieutenant?
Ren Sesper, Lieutenant.
I don't recognize you. Are you part of the detail from the surface crew?
Yes, in fact, I am very familiar with this planet, and so it was deemed efficient to have me as part of the investigation.
There's so many new crewmen coming on board, it's impossible to keep track of you all. All right.
It has been a mess, sir. I apologize.
Well, we need to clean it up. We need to do better. We
Of
need
course.
to do it right.
Of course, sir.
And he looks at you for a moment and then departs the room, heading off to the rest of his route. You're in a small secondary operations chamber. There's a couple of technicians on the far side of the room paying you no mind. They are not in naval uniforms. They are in operations uniforms.
Damn it.
Leaving you for a moment at the console.
What a mess. Okay.
And so you have a few moments to resume what you were doing. To resume searching and monitoring the specific communications channel that was given to you by an old Celestin gardener that was used years ago to send transmissions out into the galaxy on a not an old Imperial channel, not necessarily an old Republic channel, almost an old diplomatic channel. An old channel used by the Jedi Corps. Channels that are no longer in operation, channels that are restricted, channels that are punishable with serious consequences if they are found to be used. But channels that are also not being actively monitored anymore, if you're lucky.
Right. I monitor this channel only when I think I can, as much as I can, but only when I think I can get away with it without it being noticed. And I click over to it again, and I'm like, come on, Birdie, come on, I know you're out there.
And as you're scanning through the various directions, you know that this channel, which has not been used for almost 3 years now, was used very recently one more time. A transmission sent from a hidden communications array somewhere on Salachet out into the galaxy. A transmission sent by a group of hidden, rescued inhabitants of a missing grain freighter, including parts of your family.
Well,
and you're listening. And you're listening.
Obviously.
And you know you don't have a lot of time. I want you to roll Ren's communication skill, please, which is under mechanical, as you're cycling through, and as you're doing so, hoping to not get picked up by any Imperial monitoring stations.
Yep. Come on, Karen sheet, open. All right. Yeah, it's been a mess. I've been trying to cover up these channels as best I can, keep the Imperials off the scent, doing whatever I can. Yeah, it seems like my computer's not really... Oh, okay, here we go. It was not cooperating with me for a second.
Remember that one of your communication dice needs to be your wild die.
Yep.
As it can explode on a 6, complicate on a 1. And if you don't have communications as a skill, then it's just under your mechanical attribute.
Yep. I'm just waiting for it to load. Okay. Oh, this did not go well. I got a 6 and a complication on my die.
What was the total that you rolled?
6.
6 total.
6 total.
With a 1 on the wild die.
Correct.
Okay.
Not good.
You know the transmission was sent. You know the channel to monitor. You're monitoring all the frequencies that it can be picked up on. But it's an old channel. It doesn't interface well with the current Imperial network. And so you're having to do a lot of adjustments on the fly. It's a weak signal you're not picking up. It didn't get sent from a strong, powerful communications array. You had to use a secondary array on the planet, hidden enough away that it wouldn't immediately be picked up by the Imperials and was out of sight. But the transmission got sent nonetheless, and you're monitoring, and you're monitoring. And you're not able to pick up the content of the message. You're not able. There's not enough time. There's not enough signal strength to decipher the message. But what you are able to pick up, briefly, a flickering signal catch, where there is someone who activates the same channel, the same frequency, and they do so at a great distance. Salachet being in the core worlds. The signal's caught and opened. And it looks like as you're filtering through, it's the outer rim. It's super weak. It's far away. Can't tell if there's a response. You can't tell if anything's on it. But for a moment, it's there and you can see it. There's a system. And the system is called Fest.
Okay.
And you've got the coordinates of the location of the comm station where that signal was received, and then immediately it drops off again, and you've lost it, and you're back to static.
Okay. Fest. Okay. Gives me something. Yeah, that's a lead. I've been looking for a lead. All right. I go back to the data pad about the missing grain freighter, and I find some way to report that it was destroyed.
I want you to roll your computer program repair. You can find the security logs. You can find the mission logs that are active. There are dozens and dozens for Salachet right now. As the Imperial Star Destroyer Fortitude sits in orbit, constantly ferrying troops, officers, and supplies back and forth as they continue to investigate this mining incident, and as they continue to try and round up any sympathizers, citizens, or rebellious influences that could be involved.
Okay, I got a 10. No complications or exploding dice.
You're already in the secure Imperial network. This is part of your role as a lieutenant in the Imperial Navy. You're able to find that report, and you're able to give it an updated status of ship destroyed.
Yep.
And so no one else should be monitoring that old Jedi Core channel. But someone picked it up. And whoever that was is on the system of Fest.
Okay, it looks like I'm going to need a ship.
You're on an Imperial Star Destroyer. There is a lot of ships.
There sure are. All right, well, I'm going to add a note to that investigation that I am going to confirm the destruction of the grain freighter as requested by my superior officer, and then I put in his identification.
Okay.
And I will see to it personally.
Okay.
And then I put in a false heading, which is in the opposite direction of Fest. And then I requisition myself a shuttle.
There are innumerable requisitions pending.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the number of ships that are on board, they are all currently being used for the various Imperial operations, which means you'll get one. It'll probably take a few hours for them to actually clear one up for you, or you're going to have to piggyback on one going to the surface, but you don't need to go to the surface of Salachet. But you know that there is such a backlog right now that even with the resources of an Imperial Star Destroyer, the amount of ship to surface traffic that has to happen, and of course the superior officers, the captains, the admirals, will always take priority if they request something sooner. And so you realize you can't get one right now if your goal is to get one right now through the official channels.
Okay. I'm just going to check if there are any... I'm going to check on the bulletin that's on my friend Vilra about if there have been any leads or anything, or if anyone is after her in specific, just to see if I have some time, you know.
It's still the same current status. Wanted for questioning, wanted for crimes against the Empire, last known location, Salachet. It has not been sent as a all network alert at this point. It's still located to the Salachet system, but you know that could get escalated if they don't find her soon. They'll widen the net to try and catch her.
Okay.
You also know that there is a hangar that probably has shuttlecraft sitting in it, but they are reserved for the officers' corps.
Well, this does seem important. I'm going to try and rush to it. So, do I think I can obtain one of those ships?
You know that all of the ships in that queue are reserved for the officer requisitions, but when you make your way down to the hangar, through some turbolifts, passing the busy corridors of the Star Destroyer, passing other officers, give your salute as all the superior officers go by, all of the stormtroopers, you into the hangar. There are 2 shuttlecraft that are here. You know that one of them is the Admiral's. And you know that the other one is probably set aside for other officers in the Corps, but the Admiral shuttle is always kept on standby because the Admiral needs to have priority departure if required. The hangar bay is filled with a mix of technicians, a couple of officers. There's some stormtroopers by the turbolifts. It's a typical bay, an Imperial bay, as you've encountered numerous times before.
You know, as tempting as it is to steal the Admiral's ship, it does feel like that would really, really piss off some people who would be chasing me.
So there's a secondary shuttle for all of the other officers' corps. It's being fueled right now, presumably because there's a requisition for it to depart momentarily.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna head over to the people who are working on that particular shuttle.
Technician going up and down the ramp. There's another technician with the fuel umbilicals that's just monitoring the fueling. There's an Imperial officer with a data pad standing outside. They're loading it up with some crates and things as
Does
they
this
go.
officer outrank me?
No, they're a lieutenant as well.
Great. Excuse me, what is happening here?
Departure for Salishay capital. For bringing some supplies for the officers' mess. That's being
Yes, I
established on the
believe I
planet.
requisitioned the shuttle. What is the holdup?
Looks at his data pad. This is for Captain Terrace's crew. He's got a...
Let me see that.
He looks at you for a moment and then hands over the data pad.
And I compare it to my datapad. Oh, I see the error. Some nitwit who doesn't understand computing probably put this in. I hand him back the datapad.
These orders just came in. They're fresh this morning.
Look, and I show him the requisition for the shuttle to confirm, based on the orders from this higher ranking officer, that the that I need to go investigate the absence of the shuttle. There is a freighter that escaped from Salishay with potential rebels aboard, and I have been instructed to confirm its destruction, and I need the shuttle immediately. Or do you want the captain to chew you out as well?
I'm going to give you 2 choices. You can make a con roll to trick the other officer, or you can attempt to make a command roll. The command roll will be the higher difficulty. You don't outrank this lieutenant.
Correct.
And so they are going to be less inclined to take an order from you, but you can choose command or con, and you tell me which one you're
I'm going to do
rolling.
con.
All right, and I'm going to roll their perception to resist your con with this story. I got a wild die with my perception dice. My wild die can explode for the Imperial officer as well.
Oh, this is going to be good. Okay. Let's see. I got a 25 with my die having exploded twice.
Wow. Well done. I got a 3, and I rolled 3 dice. He immediately agrees with you and says, "There's been the requisitions have been out of order and a mess all morning. Look, we got to get a couple of these supplies off. These aren't designed for your run. We'll get the cargo off, and then you can take the shuttle and go. I hope there's another one coming. I think Captain Terrace is on their way down."
Thank you. Look, I know it's not your fault. I know someone else has messed this up. Let's just keep this between us.
Yeah. Please, can we do that? Because I'm gonna get chewed if if somebody else has made a mistake and they come to me with it. So
We lieutenants need to look out for each other, right? I pat him on the shoulder.
they offload some of the containers that they had just unloaded, and they disconnect the umbilicals, and you can head up inside the ramp and retract it, and the shuttle is yours.
Great. I take off.
I'm going to get you to roll your space transports piloting for me,
All right, let's see.
which is under mechanical. It's not a difficult roll. This is a routine takeoff. There's nothing dangerous or anything about what you're doing here.
Yeah, I'm not especially good at this kind of thing, but it's important.
The trick is to
That
fly
would be
casual.
a 13 that I got.
Perfect. That's flying casually.
Yep.
You disembark from the bay, bank off. You get communications from the spaceport control on the surface, and you get communications from the Imperial Star Destroyer confirming that the shuttle has left the bay, confirming that the shuttle is free. There is a landing beacon that's being transmitted to you that you pick up. That's the destination for the shuttle on the surface as to where it's supposed to go, but you're not going to go that route.
Correct.
Now, what I do need you to make one more roll for is because you're going to plot a course to Fest for hyperspace, which means you need to make an astrogation roll, which is under your mechanical again. You know where Fest is, you've got the coordinates for it, you need to program it into your nav computer so that you can make the jump to light speed.
Oh my god. It keeps exploding. That's good. Okay, so I got a 15 this time.
You take a few moments, you're entering the coordinates, it's going exactly as your training's completed for you. You're starting to get clear of the Star Destroyer, you're starting to get clear of the gravitational well of the planet, so you can be into open space, so you can make the jump to light speed. The comm flashes.
I click on it. I don't
Shuttle
say
next.
anything. I'm just listening.
Shuttle Nexus, this is Fortitude. We've got clearance for you to land on landing bay 7 in Capital City. Confirm your heading and trajectory, please.
Sorry, breaking up. Can you confirm what? Having some trouble. Mechanical.
Shuttle Nexus, your signal is weak. Boost your comm and try again.
Comm officer vomiting uncontrollably. Hold on.
I'm going to get you to make one more con roll for
Yeah.
me, please. With the control officer on board the bridge of the Star Destroyer that you're now talking to.
I got a 19. I'm good at this. I'm pretty good at counting.
Well, I rolled much better than the 3, but it did not beat your 19.
All right, here we go. Here we go. Hit the button for light speed.
The comm flashes again as they're trying to send you another signal. You engage the hyperdrive. There's the roar of the engine for a second. The star lines shift and blur. And Lieutenant Ren Sesper, Imperial Navy, makes the jump to hyperspace on her way to the planet of Fest.
Don't worry,
And
kid.
that's where
I'm
we're
coming.
going to leave. That's where we're going to leave Quadrilateral Frostfall. I've been your game master, Jason Collins. I thank you so much for joining us today. This has been so much fun. We will look forward to sharing more with you very soon. Thank you to everybody. You can say goodbye, everybody. Sorry. I wasn't meant to say goodbye. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm Barnaby. You can find me at _Barnaby. I make TTRPG illustrations as well as art. So follow me over there if you want to see good art.
I'm Mara. You can find me at College of Lore Dropout or Lore Dropout, and also over on Starlight Tales.
I'm Diana. You can find me everywhere at Sapphic Strigonona or just Sapphic Striga, and also over on Starlight Tales.
I'm May. You can find me at Maybe Mayhem or on my podcast, Socially Plagued.
And I'm Erik Scott to be. Guest starring as Ren Sesper. I am here on the Dungeon Scrawlers, being one of the founding members, and you can find my work at my website, which is myname.com. Also join the Dungeon Scrawlers Discord. We talk about all of our streams all the time and have lots of fun. Highly recommended.
Thank you, everybody, for watching today. Thank you to everybody here participating. We wish all of our spacers and scoundrels safe skies.